Okay, today I'm going to be doing a demonstration speech and showing you how to use a couple of different common types of rods and reels. Not really rods, just the reels. First, we got the closed bell. This is, the most basic, easiest to use rod reel. Um, Basically, all you do is click that button in, do your cast, let go as you're going forward with it. Line will come out. Done. This is your drag. Okay. Now, how drag works is if I have a hold of one end of a rope and you have hold of the other end of the rope. If I have the drag on my end set high to the plus, then you're not going to be able to pull that rope from me. If I got it loosened a little or even a lot, then you're going to be able to, take some. That's how that works. And if we look on the inside here, and you'll see this is it. They call it a closed bell because it kind of looks like a bell there. So your line will go around here, and that's basically, you can watch. That's it. It just spools it up. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can go to learnhowtofish.com, and they do a pretty descriptive page on not only how to use this, but how it works. If you want to get a little bit more into detail on that. Next, we got an open phase, which you see it looks a lot different. Open phases are, it's all really generally the same idea. An open phase is takes a little more practice, but not much practice at all. So you got this rod right here, it goes across, and you flip that, you'll see line starts to come out. Flip it back, doesn't. Put this rod together. Okay, so here you have, take that loose, and you'll be able to let's say you switch which side. So this is one little bit, you can vary a little bit more on an open phase just for little things like that. If you're left-handed or right-handed, you can do that. It's a little bit easier. Put this back. And another thing is, really, the drag system works better. If you go to outdoorsly.com, you'll see they got a whole page on how the drag systems really work better in an open phase. Like I said, you flip this, and what you're going to do is you're going to put that line, you're going to press it against the rod. Hold that line against the rod. You would whip, and as you whip, you let go. Now, when that hits the water, you can either leave this open or you can close it. Now, it's like on the close bell, when we press the button and you lock that and it clicks, this is the click. So if you leave that open, a fish can run with that all day. It's not going to stop until you flick it. Once you flip it, boom, tense. Right here will be your drag. Now, different open phase, every reel is, made different from where you get it, but that's generally where your drag is going to be on an open phase, and that's how you use that. And I got a different type of open phase, and that would be this one. It's a little bit bigger, same concept. Open this up. And this one is a little bit bigger. It can handle more, say, bigger line, which is a big plus. And you see it's got a lot of line on there. This is braided line, and it's basically the same thing, same deal, just different, a little bit bigger. And yeah, you can use it for different situations. And the last reel that you have is the bait caster. The bait caster is, I would say, the most diverse. Now, to say that one of these rods are better than the other is not. Each rod is good in its own environment. You couldn't use a bait caster to go trout fishing, and I'll explain why here in a minute, but I'm just explaining that different reels are the king of their own category, which is why one really isn't better than the other. But so baitcaster is quite a bit different from the open phase and the closed bill, and I'll show you. See, this has no pullback on it. This is just the open spool. That is your line. That will roll right there. Now, when you click this button here, so you see that. Okay, now this line can run all day long, and you'll hear the term bird's nest, which is guys they'll press this button, and you want to hold your thumb on your line. That way it doesn't just flow out. And you'll on your rod back, you'll cast it, and when you let go, that line is going to go. Now, when it goes to hit the water, and you'll have to use it a little bit and get a feel for it, you'll put your thumb on that line again to stop it from reeling and reeling, because if you just hit the button, cast it, and let the line go and never stop it, it's just going to ball up inside of this reel, which is what bird's nesting is. It's when you don't stop the line after you've casted it and it balls up. One of the things that make this probably, like I said, you can play with these the most is, for one, the braking system. This is your braking system right here. This, I don't know if you can see this little knob right there. That's your brakes. So that's no brakes, and if you twist it all the way this way, that's full brakes. And I'll show you how brakes work. I'll pop this open. So these are your brakes. This is a magnetic braking system, and you'll see this will fit. You got a little hole right there, and that little bar right there. That's what that goes in. And you have this. This connects directly in. See, as I move it, it kind of moves the line. This connects directly into this. You'll see it's kind of falling out. You can actually see that it sits right on the side of that. And these brakes, when you turn your brakes up, more magnets press on your spool. The more magnets you have on the spool, it's more brakes. That's slower the line's going to come out. It has nothing to do with your drag. This is solely, you're using different baits, different weights. You can play with your brakes on this side, and that gives you a big vary in how much line is going to come out when you cast. And then you have your spool tensioner, which is on this side. Trying to get a good view here. That is your spool tensioner. It's a little knob right here, you can see. And see, your brakes, say you go between 1 and 5, 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your brakes. Okay? Between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, this is the best way I can explain it. Between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, between those individual, there is a whole range of further in depth that you can go with your spool tensioner. I mean, you can adjust what the brake is going to be on 2 to make it to really in between 1 and 2 with your spool tensioner. And it's like, I'll see if I can show you. I don't know if I got enough weight on it right now. I don't, but if I had weight on this and I loosened that spool tensioner all the way, my line would just start to come off. It would just go, because it's tension on the spool. This is the spool, and it allows for more in-depth on when you're casting. This is your drag. That's your drag. Same thing with the other two. Now it does vary. This is different because the open phase, both the open phase reels and the closed bell, they have gears in them, which essentially deal with the drag. You can strip gears out. I've did it before. You can strip them out, and with open phase, it doesn't have gears. It has ball bearings, which is actually makes a big difference because then you have gear ratios, which you can see this is a I think this is a I don't know what gear ratio this is, but your gear ratio will differ in these, and it's really how fast line comes in as you're reeling. So 3 spins on this may be way different from 3 spins on a different gear ratio. And that's where you can get a little bit more in depth. Which you can do different gear ratios on other rods too, but the big difference here is ball bearings can't strip out, which I'm not saying that's better necessarily, it's just different. And the drag can be a lot more in depth too, because like I said, you got your brakes and you got your spool tensioner, which kind of play a role in your drag and how that line is going to go out. Not how it's coming in, but how it goes out. If you got your drag low and it's taking a lot of line and you don't have your brakes turned up, you can turn your brakes up as the fish is taking your line out, and it will play the same role as if you were casting and your brakes were up. So you can play a lot more with these, but you have to have so much weight for this reel to pull the line out, because like I said, there's no weight, there's no nothing helping the line go like there is on an open phase where it's just spooled up waiting to come off, or a closed bell, which is the same thing. A closed bell is just an open phase with a cover over it. The line is not spooled up ready to come off. This is on there. This has to be unwinded. So you have to have enough weight on the end for when you throw that for the line to come off. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to learn a little bit more on bait casting, you can go to outdoorsbase.com. They got a lot of cool stuff over there. And that's basically how to use each one of these. One last thing, bait casters also, you have to set them up when you before each time you switch bait weights, and your weights on your bait, that's a big difference too. You couldn't use this where you could use an open phase. If I'm using a real, if I want to go trout fishing, I'm using a real lightweight rubber worm, this isn't going to work. You can have the lightest gear ratio in the world and the lightest line, and it isn't going to come off of a bait caster just because the line is spooled. And on an open phase, it is just waiting to come off. It's just ready to go. And that's, like I said, they're not one's not better than the other. It's just they're all the king of their own category. And they have, a million different types of each one of these. And there's hundreds of, I'm sure, different types of reels and the way they work. This is the 3 most common, especially in our area, and that's how you use them. Like I said, if you want to know more, a little bit more, you can go to outdoorsly.com, learninghowtofish.com, and outdoorsbase.com. I got a little bit of information from those 3 on how they descripted, how they distinguish these. But that's how you use a closed bell, open phase, and a bait caster.